The Goat House is back with one player each NFL team must sign this free agency. One of my favorite videos that we do every single year. We have a bunch of offseason content on the channel. More to come. Let's get to it. So I'll give each NFL team a free agent I think they absolutely should sign, but it has to be realistic. It has to be a possibility of it actually happening for them to make this video. We'll start with the AFC East teams. New England Patriots, T. Higgins. We know they have by far the most cap space in all of football this offseason, so they can afford the top free agent, T. Higgins. We know they should be interested. They badly need a receiver upgrade, I'd say, especially on the outside. They have a couple guys that are pretty solid that can play in the slot, but Higgins' contested catch ability, top of the league, I think is perfect for Drake May ball. Sometimes he'll just sling it in the traffic downfield. Perfect option to help Drake May grow. Would love for the Patriots to go do this, and I'd watch for them to actually make it happen, or at least try to make it happen. The Buffalo Bills, how about Darius Slayton, the Giants free agent wide receiver? The Bills don't have a ton of spending money. Of course, they're going to clear some, but they won't be able to sign these big money players. And Slayton actually might get a little bit more than people are expecting because he still has upside. He had flashes with the Giants. It feels like players are better away from the Giants with that mess over there. This will be a fantastic fit. An outside speedy receiver, be a home run type threat for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They got to upgrade those playmakers. I like Khalil Shakir in the slot. Slayton on the outside be absolutely perfect. They'll have to clear a little bit of space to be able to make this move. For the Jets, I would like for them to go for a safety. Specifically, I like Justin Reed for them, the Chiefs safety. The last staff for the Jets, they didn't really value that position that much. They had so much, and still do, so much talent elsewhere where it kind of makes up for that. But Aaron Glenn in there now, he will value the safety position. Look what he did with the Detroit Lions, the safeties that were the big-time playmakers of that defense that they had over there. He's going to definitely value that position a little bit more. Aaron Glenn, his defense, Steve Wilkes, they like to run a lot of man coverage. Justin Reed, he's a man-covered safety from the Chiefs, so I think that's a really good fit. Won't cost an insane amount of money, so that makes sense to me. So much like last year, the Miami Dolphins probably won't be able to be big-time spenders. They don't have a lot of cap space. Of course, there's ways to clear some. I don't expect them to be crazy spenders, so we're kind of looking for something realistic here. I like Patrick McCarry for them. Versatile offensive lineman from the Ravens. The Dolphins need a day one starter at the guard position, but the fact that he can slide over and play tackle if there's an injury, I think a bonus. Won't be overly expensive at all. Probably be on the cheaper side. Love his experience. I love his versatility. It makes sense for Miami this offseason. The Washington Commanders are a team to watch this offseason. A ton of cap space. They're a contender already. They want to be more of a contender. I think other players want to play in that situation for the Washington Commanders, so definitely a team to watch. A free agent that I love this offseason in general, but I absolutely love for Dan Quinn and the Commanders, is Trevon Moehrig of the Raiders. He really took a step up this past year. He's still very, very young, 25 years old. He was a big-time prospect for TCU. He was a little underwhelming at first because the Raiders were just kind of sticking him at free safety in the back end, and that's really not his game. He could do that, so that's the bonus, but he was best in the box slot area for TCU, and in this past year for the Raiders, that's where he was best as well. Getting in the backfield, manning up on tight ends or guys in the slot, just rangy guy that you can switch, put him in the back end, be a playmaker if you want him to. He has so much upside still. I just feel like this is a Dan Quinn safety, kind of take that Jeremy Chin role, a major, major upgrade. So pair him with Quan Martin. Absolutely fantastic. So this is the free agent I'm most curious about. Who's going to sign him? Hopefully a team that uses him right, doesn't just stick him at free safety. The Raiders, of course, could bring him back, but I love this fit for the Washington Commanders. I love a ton of fits for them this offseason. The Giants will look to add a quarterback, we believe, in the draft. That young quarterback, with that third pick. Maybe they move up a little bit. Who knows? But they got to get that offensive line set. They definitely need some guard help. How about the top guy in all of free agency? Maybe a top two guy in all of free agency. Number one offensive line, Trey Smith of the Chiefs, a stud. His best football still could be ahead of him. So plug him in at right guard. Makes a lot of sense. They have the spending money. I think they wouldn't be afraid to do it. The only thing is there's going to be a lot of teams after Trey Smith. The bidding war is going to be on. He's probably going to be the highest paid guard when it's all said and done. I wonder if he'll take a little bit less money to go back to the Chiefs or go to maybe a little bit better of a situation than the Giants. So that'd be something tricky for New York. They might have to pay insane amount of money, but sometimes it's worth it for the big-time players I like Trey Smith, so I would love for the Giants to go upgrade their offensive line with him. Here's a sneaky one that could end up being one of the steals of free agency. That's Malcolm Kuntz, the Raiders pass rusher. The last time we saw him play, he was very productive for the Raiders. I think the Eagles could definitely use another guy that has the capabilities of starting or being a high-end rotational piece off the edge. Obviously, a team that doesn't have a long list of needs because their roster is super talented and balanced, but I could see Kuntz fitting right in that Vic Fangio scheme there. So I like that fit. And they probably won't be crazy spenders. They're always not really worried about cap space, though, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Javon Hargrave is probably going to be, I thought about putting him on here. He is probably going to be a free agent because the 49ers said they're going to cut him. It's just not official yet, so I think that would have been cheating if I put him in this video, but that's one I would like if they were to lose Milton Williams, get Javon Hargrave back. So the last time he played for the Eagles, he was, stellar. How about Trayvon Diggs' brother for the Dallas Cowboys? They definitely need another receiver to help out CeeDee Lamb. That was pretty evident early in the season. They had no one else, consistently getting open, making plays. Teams just doubling CeeDee Lamb, and it was just no one else really could do anything. And the offense started getting a little bit more as the season went on, so that's good going into next year, but they're gonna need another receiver. Diggs coming off an injury, I still think he's super talented. I'm confident he'll recover, but because of all that, he probably won't be overly expensive. The Cowboys are in the red when it comes to cap space right now, but they'll restructure Dak's deal, push money down the road, and then they'll clear money right now and a couple other ways of clearing some space. So they'll have a little bit of spending money. They're probably a team that won't be able to go super crazy like the super expensive guys, but they'll be able to make some moves. The Bengals are another team I want to go for one of my favorite free agents, and that is Trayvon Mareg of the Las Vegas Raiders, their safety who really stood out last year. Again, I talked about him already because I wanted the Commanders to go for him, but yeah, he has a lot of upside still, very young if used the right way. Al Golden they bring in for the Bengals defensive coordinator, and just seems like a really good fit, a safety that could kind of be a Xavier Watts who he had at Notre Dame. He can get downhill in the box, but he also can play in the back end and be a playmaker. I think that's what they need in Cincinnati. They need interior defensive line help pretty badly, specifically guys that can stop the run. The top end of this interior defensive line class of free agency are mainly interior pass rushers, so it's not the end of the world if they get one of those guys, but it's hard to find, yes, those guys are absolute fits, even though it is a big-time position of need. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would love Milton Williams for them. I think they would be highly interested in him. They value defensive line. Cam Hayward signed a 2-year deal, so one more year left, even though he's still balling, but he could be done after that. I would expect them to move on from Larry Ogunjobi, just not doing the trick for them. They can clear some space. I like Keanu Benton a lot, but they need more options on the defensive front. It just feels like a Pittsburgh Steelers defensive lineman here, Milton Williams, who his best football is ahead of him. I think it'd be perfect for them, so watch for them to be interested, and I do love that fit. The Browns are a team that need to do a little bit of clearing. They're far into the red when it comes to available cap space, well, non-available cap space. They'll restructure some deals. They'll make some cuts. They'll clear space. They won't be able to spend crazy amount of money, but Alaric Jackson, who's been sneaky solid and still young with upside, was the Rams left tackle. I think, he's a tricky one. He could be super expensive or a team can get a steal with him, so I'd watch for the Browns if he's a little cheaper than expected and be a plug and play at left tackle for them. Ravens are another team that has a lot of money tied up, so they won't be able to be huge spenders, but they're always a little sneaky with different trades or signing veteran guys for a 1-year deal. So that's where I see Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack, he might be a little pricey for a guy that's a 1 or 2 year deal, but I see a scenario where maybe he signs a 1 year and it's a little discount to play with a serious contender in the Baltimore Ravens. They definitely don't have a ton of needs, but I do think they can look for another proven edge rusher to help them there. And then they can be even more of a contender. For the Chicago Bears, you got to go Trey Smith. They need offensive line help to protect Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson comes in, big-time hire. The best part about the lines in that offense, I'd say it started up front with how damn good that offensive line was. So the Bears, they got to add pieces, right? And you got a stud available for that right guard position for the Bears here, and the Bears have a ton of spending money, so this is realistic. It's a fit for Ben Johnson's offense, and it would boost them big time. This would be huge for the Chicago Bears. I think he's going to end up being the highest paid guard in football with the bidding war that's going to happen. I think it'd be okay for a team to overspend for a guy like this if it was just by a little bit. And then Ryan Poles, their GM, was with Kansas City, obviously, previously, so he's familiar with Trey Smith, so that's a bonus for you right there. For the Vikings, another team that could use a guy like Trey Smith. They definitely could use interior line help. They could use corner help, but Javon Holland stands out big time. Right when this guy came in the league out of Oregon, he felt like a star safety right away, or at least a very close to, star in the making. And he's been good since, but it's been a little underwhelming. He still hasn't been, and they keep switching defensive coordinators and completely different schemes. So he was a star right away. Who drafted him and who was the coach? It was Brian Flores that year, who is now the Vikings defensive coordinator. On top of that, the Vikings actually have some spending money. On top of that, Harrison Smith, you kind of feel like he could be done, could retire. Cam Bynum, their free safety, is a free agent. Javon Holland, in the Brian Flores scheme, the way he uses them, he's a guy that can play both those positions. He can be a playmaker in the back end, or he can get downhill. He can blitz for you, which Brian Flores loves to do and did with him that first year in Miami. So he kind of fills both. I mean, it's even better. Say you lose Bynum, they could bring Bynum back, but say they lose Bynum and Harrison Smith, and you just replace with Holland and use Metellus, I think they're even better than they ever were at that position. So it's just an outstanding fit. They have spending money. I think Holland would want to play there for Brian Flores, so that's an interesting one to watch. All right, the Packers, this was a tricky one because this video is who I think, teams absolutely have to go for, but it has to be realistic, right? And I sit here and say, yes, it would be something. The Packers go and get T. Higgins for Jordan Love. Finally a proven legit receiver. They have spending money this year. They're a little tight in the future, but will the Packers actually do something like this? That's debatable. I think they're finally going to give in, maybe try at least. I'll have predictions come out. Will they actually win the bidding war for T. Higgins? Maybe I'm siding with one of the other teams, but I would love for the Packers to go out and do this. Jordan Love, get him a big-time receiver so he can develop finally a good receiver. And Jordan Love's one flaw is he'll throw the ball in traffic. He'll throw it up for grabs at times. It's the perfect receiver for that. One of the best, very best contested catchers in football. I mean, you got Mike Evans, you got T. Higgins. These are the guys that lead in that category, in my opinion. Cortland Sutton, guys like that. So this would be wonderful for the Green Bay Packers. Let's see if they actually go out and do it. I think there's a little bit of hope here. For the Lions, I think Khalil Mack is a fantastic option for them given their situation. They need another edge rusher. They have some spending money. Matt could be a little expensive, but he could be a 1 or 2 year deal, which I think is perfect for the Detroit Lions as well. They, again, need another pass rusher. See what they do with Zadarius Smith this offseason. I don't think he's the answer, really. He has durability concerns. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be back, but yeah, again, he's coming off a gruesome injury. I'm confident he'll be okay because he was saying he was going to play in the Super Bowl if they made it there, so I'm confident he'll be good. But perfect situation to get a guy like Khalil Mack in there on a 1 year deal, 2 year deal, maybe draft another guy. Perfect situation for that, whoever that rookie would be as well, if that's the case. And that could make them that much more of a contender. I'm confident their offense will be explosive. The defense, they got to get back on track and stay consistent, kind of like how they were earlier in the year. It's going to help that they get a little healthier at the same time. They could use a corner, but in terms of that, maybe bringing back your own and Carlton Davis could make some sense. Another team that absolutely needs to be going all out for one of the star free agents of this class, Trey Smith, the Chiefs guard, is the Tennessee Titans. Trey Smith was a Tennessee Volunteer. It was a little bit of a bonus, but the bigger connection, the much bigger, more important connection, Mike Borgonzi, assistant GM of the Chiefs, now the GM of the Tennessee Titans, so he has that connection. Coming in there at Tennessee, biggest problem last year was offensive line. I mean, it was brutal on the right side, is especially. They have a left tackle in J.C. Latham unless they decide to move him back to right tackle where he was at Alabama. I don't get any sense they will. They have Peter Skoronski at left guard, and they have Cushenberry at center. Right guard, need a tackle. Right guard, Trey Smith here, plug-and-play guy. They have some spending money as well. They have the connection. I think these Tennessee Titans are one of the favorites for Trey Smith this offseason. It'll be a fantastic addition. For the Colts, they need DBs, whether it's corner or safety. Definitely need a tight end as well, but the draft is looking pretty for them for that. So take a look at the cornerback position where they badly need someone consistent on the outside. And Chris Ballard said, we're going to try to do some damage, this offseason. In the past, we've heard that from him before, but in the past, they kind of just stay quiet, re-sign their own. Finally, it's sounding like they might turn the page a little bit on that. They badly need a corner, so why not go for the top corner in all of free agency, who is kind of still in his prime right now. Like he could be entering it still, or he's definitely still like in the middle of that prime, DJ Reed. So that'd be fantastic for them. They added Lou Anarumo, big time defensive coordinator. I think the cornerback play for the Bengals was down this year, and that's why, his defense was down, but he's a fantastic defensive mind. Get a big time corner. That'd make a lot of sense in Indy. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, they definitely have big needs in the secondary, and corner was an issue last year. I know Tyson Campbell needs to stay healthy, but they got to pair someone with him. I like Carlton Davis as a fit for them, a guy that has experience when he played with the Bucs in zone coverage, a lot of cover 3, and then when he played with the Lions, a lot of good play, a lot of good experience in man coverage. So I love that for him. The Jags probably won't be the top dollar spenders at the cornerback position. I think DJ Reed will be that guy, but I think they'll be right under that. I think they'll be that tier under that. So I look at a guy that possibly him and Charvarius Ward probably lead the way in that category. But Carlton Davis makes a lot of sense for the Jacksonville Jaguars and filling that need at the corner position. For the Texans, they need guard help badly. It was brutal during the year. Definitely need an upgrade. I like Will Fries of the Colts. We'll see if he ends up flipping, going to a division rival. We'll see if the Colts bring him back, but is coming off an injury, but he played really, really solid at that right guard spot and definitely has upside. Very young. Best footballs ahead of him. That's kind of what the Texans need here. And the Texans aren't going to be able to be crazy spenders. They need to clear space. They don't need to clear a ton, but they need to clear space. They'll be able to do that. So I think they'll kind of be in that next tier of guards, which is pretty good. A guy like this with upside. So that makes sense as a fit and a big upgrade for them on the interior offensive line. The Panthers are another team I think should be all out for the pursuit of T. Higgins, the top free agent in the class. They got to get this offense going. They actually got it going at the end of last year. Bryce Young really took some major strides under Dave Canales. Fantastic. But go get another outside receiver. Adam Thielen's still balling out in the slot. He doesn't have a long time left, though. Leggett was a little bit of a disappointment. Jalen Coker actually looked pretty solid, but go get a proven, consistent, big-time receiver to elevate Bryce Young and that offense even more. The Panthers have some spending money. They have even more spending money in the future, so they'll probably backload that. Makes a lot of sense for T. Higgins. I think they'll be a team that will be interested, but they need defensive help as well, so I did think about some defenders here, but would love T. Higgins for them. DJ Reed makes a lot of sense for the Falcons, the top corner in free agency. The Falcons right now don't have a lot of spending money, but they have easy ways to clear. They'll dig themselves out of that, and they'll actually have a decent amount. So will they be able to, if there's a bidding war, will they be able to afford the top corner in free agency? I guess that's a little debatable. We will see depending on what happens, but they need another corner. AJ Terrell can lock down one side. They have Jesse Bates in the back end at safety. Need another corner. That was a problem last year. They hired Jeff Ulbrich as defensive coordinator. He was the Jets DC. DJ Reed was the best corner on that team last year. Believe it or not, with Sauce Gardner there, Reed was still that top guy. So there's obviously a connection. There's a fit. There's a need there, and they'll be able to create some cap space to be able to spend a little bit at least. So obviously the Saints are one of those teams that will not be able to spend big time money this offseason because of the hole that they are in, but they're going to clear their way out. They'll be able to make some moves. It just wouldn't be wise, or they might not be capable of spending huge money. So need a guard. Need a guy that's not super expensive. Mekhi Becton had a breakout year for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. It seems like he found a new home at the guard position. Saints definitely could use him. At the time of recording this, it sure sounds like Kellen Moore is going to be the head coach of the Saints, but nothing is official yet. So I kind of use that connection at the same time because he is the offense coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles right now. So makes sense as a fit. Shouldn't be too expensive. The Buccaneers have a really good roster, but they need major upgrades at the edge position. One of the top available pass rushers is Josh Sweat of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this guy, you bring in a guy that has that experience. He gets production, so I think it gives them a major upgrade on defense. They got to get to the quarterback more. They can't just rely on that interior, which is usually typically good, but need those edge guys. Josh Sweat, one of the top ones in the class. The LA Chargers are another one of those of many teams that should be and I think will be interested in the top free agent, the star free agent. If he's available, of course, the Bengals could franchise tag him, but T. Higgins and the Chargers have a star in the making with Ladd McConkey. He does most of his damage in the slot. Need an outside receiver. Need a big-time contested catch, downfield receiver for Justin Herbert. Finally, that'd be fantastic. A better version of prime Mike Williams for Justin Herbert would be fantastic. They have tons of spending money. One of the more intriguing teams of the offseason. They can take that next step. They're in the same boat as the Commanders, like young, kind of contending team, new coach. Took them that next step. Ton of spending money. Appealing spot for players wanting to play there. So they're a team to watch for sure. Would love T. Higgins for them if they're able to get their hands on him. A fit I absolutely love is the Broncos and Chris Godwin. We know the Broncos need another proven receiver. They have Courtland Sutton on the outside. They have some other younger guys that can play, but they need a proven guy on the inside. Chris Godwin is one of the best slot receivers in football today. I think he's perfect for Sean Payton's offense. I think he'll give him vibes of Michael Thomas. There are some differences. Obviously, Michael Thomas, was a kind of a contested catch guy on the outside at times, but he was so good because he was so effective when he was in the slot as well, running over the middle of the field. That's kind of what Godwin does. So you can kind of compare those guys in that sense. I think it's absolutely perfect. The Broncos have spending money. They don't have a long list of needs. Receiver is a big one. You don't want a T. Higgins, in my opinion. You don't want, I guess who doesn't want him? But that's just another Courtland Sutton. They're the same style player. I know Higgins is a little better, but getting a guy like Godwin would be big. Will he be available, though? It just feels like a guy that could be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer for life. They could franchise tag him. They could bring him back right away. They're a team that tends to bring their guys back they really, really like. So it's a little tricky, but he's coming off the injury. They had Jalen McMillan, who really stepped up in that Godwin role, so it could get a little interesting. So if he is available in free agency, I love the fit of the Broncos. If he's not available, I'll give you another one right now, a defensive guy that I liked, Paulson Adebo, a young corner. He's coming off an injury, young man coverage corner, a lot of upside, playmaking ability. Sean Payton, I think, would really like Adebo. Vance Joseph would like him for his defense. So give you a bonus one just in case Godwin isn't actually available in free agency. This fit makes a ton of sense here. There's a lot of good connections for DJ Reed. We talked about the Falcons, but the Raiders, one of their biggest needs, probably their biggest need other than quarterback, is cornerback. Pete Carroll's coming in there. He'll value the position. Pete Carroll coached DJ Reed when he was at the Seattle Seahawks. That was right when DJ Reed came in the league. It was like, here's a decent corner. Maybe he's going to be something. And then he went to Seattle, and he was starting to really become something there. Then the Jets signed him off that. It was a little bit of a bold signing, how much money at the time. And then he really got going. He's in his prime now. So I think there'll definitely be some interest there. Need a corner, fit with Pete Carroll. And the Raiders have a good amount of spending money as well now and in the future. They're loaded with cap space in the future. So Reed, the top corner free agency, could make a lot of sense for them. For the Chiefs, they have a lot of money tied up, so they might not be crazy spenders. They could spend a little bit, though, but they gotta go out and get a left tackle. They probably prefer to have a veteran left tackle rather than drafting another guy. They could have a couple young guys on their team that just haven't really worked out. So how about Cam Robinson? They have the former Jag Jawan Taylor on the other side. I didn't know, like Cam Robinson, he shouldn't be overly expensive. He played pretty decent for the Vikings last year after they traded for him. At the very end, it was a little bit of a struggle, but I think he'd play well for the Chiefs, and it wouldn't be super expensive for them where they're able to afford him. The Arizona Cardinals are a team that definitely needs some defensive line help when it comes to D-tackle and edge. I almost went edge rusher Josh Sweat for them, but I went with defensive lineman Milton Williams. They have a lot of spending money. I think Milton Williams has upside. His best football is ahead of him, but he can play right now. I think the Cardinals be interested in that. They have a lot of young talent, so they want guys that can help them win now, but they want that future. Milton Williams, very familiar with Jonathan Gannon and vice versa. He coached them when he was in Philly, so that checks another box there. So I like this fit. I look out for the Cardinals being a team that targets Milton Williams this offseason. The 49ers definitely need offensive line help. They finally have spending money in the offseason, so they can do some damage here. I guess the problem with this one, the flaw with this one, is they haven't really valued the center position. They went the cheap route there. Do they finally do it? Drew Dahlman, by far the best center in free agency, but one of the better free agents in general. He's been playing great recently. He is coming off an injury, but the last time we saw him play, he was fantastic. His best football also could be ahead of him. So the Niners could definitely start valuing that offensive line, and because I think they're going to go all in. They're going to go all in, Super Bowl or bust this year, and they're going to use future money on Brock Purdy. They're going to sign guys right now, use a lot of the money they have this offseason for, the bulk of these contracts here. So a couple offensive linemen I like for them, maybe a defensive lineman as well, but Drew Dahlman really stands out. Finally, they value offensive line more, maybe hopefully value center position more. And the Seattle Seahawks are definitely another team that should be in on a star free agent of this class, the best offensive lineman, Trey Smith, right guard. The Seahawks need guard help so badly, but today, you might be thinking, it doesn't really look that realistic that they can land Trey Smith because they're in the red, pretty far in the red in terms of cap space, but Seattle Seahawks, they're a team I'd watch for when it comes to a clearing spree, a cutting spree. They have easy ways to clear space. What I mean by easy ways, yeah, easy cuts. And they have some cuts that they'll be debated amongst the organization as well. But it's always tough for teams when they absolutely, like, they got to cut a guy they don't want to, or they got to restructure deals and push money back. The Seahawks don't have that. They have easy ways to clear cap space. Tyler Lockett, cutting him, $17 million. Roy Robertson-Harris clears a little bit. I'd watch out for that as well. Rayshawn Jenkins clears a little bit. And then some tougher decisions. Draymond Jones, and they do something with him. That actually clear quite a bit. And then Uchenna Nwosu's another one. I believe it's a tough decision because he's a good player, but he's been injured. So then they'll all of a sudden for this year have a decent amount of cap space. And you look at future years, they have a ton of cap space. So they easily could make this work. They need guard help very badly. Here's your opportunity right here, Trey Smith. So I'd watch out for the Seahawks to target him as well as a lot of other teams that we talked about. And for the Rams, I absolutely love this fit of Chris Godwin. They're moving on from Cooper Kupp. As it stands right now, they're looking for a trade. If they can't trade him, I think they could possibly cut him. It's just they can't rely on his durability. He's definitely has taken a step down. Chris Godwin, Cooper Kupp was a fantastic slot receiver. Chris Godwin might be one of the very, very best slot receivers in football right now. I mean, he would be perfect in that McVay scheme, that McVay system with Matthew Stafford, pair him with Puka Nacua. There's a chance that the Bucs tag him or just sign him right away. I had him as a fit for the Broncos as well. So if the Rams they have some spending money. They have a lot of spending money in the future, so they could definitely make it work. But there are other free agents they could be looking for. If they don't bring Jackson back or they want an upgrade over Alaric Jackson at left tackle, could they sign a Ronnie Stanley if he's available? Cam Robinson, those are possibilities. And they maybe start to value linebacker a little bit more. Corner is definitely an option as well. Do they look at guys like DJ Reed? I don't know if they spend that much though. Paulson Adebo, maybe a little cheaper. Carlton Davis, so a little cheaper than DJ Reed, that is. Do they go Asante Samuel Jr., even cheaper, and still has upside? So try to give you some more options because there's a chance that Godwin actually isn't available once we get to free agency, but he might be, coming off an injury. The Bucs have Jalen McMillan, that stepped up in his role, so we'll see. But those would be my favorite free agency signings, I guess, depending on the price. For each NFL team in free agency, and we'll have a lot more predictions. Predictions will be coming right before free agency. We'll have more fit videos, rankings, and then while free agency is going on, we have our non-stop grade videos. So breaking down the contracts, everything. It's my favorite time of the year, one of my favorite times of the year. So cannot wait. Join us for that, but check out all of our offseason content that's on the channel right now, and then obviously there's more to come. So join us. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.